So Dr. Robert Adams Jr., well, you too are a cultural anthropologist. You specialize in diversity and inclusion, mindful leadership, organizational change, strategic planning. Drawing from your vast experience as both a Fulbright scholar, your academic and research roles that you've had, even really as your work as the Chief Operating Officer for the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change in Atlanta, how does policing leverage this moment to not only be on the right side of history, but on really the right side of the future through cultural transformation?
So I think part of it is recognizing the particular moment that we all find ourselves in. Right now, America's in crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic, the economic distress, and the heightened political divisions are creating a loss of confidence about American institutions in general to meet our basic needs. And policing has not been exempt from this loss of public support. And it's only been exacerbated by the use of the police as a forceful response to public demonstrations of dissatisfaction about the American crisis in general. And so it's created a real, I think, insider-outsider moment about reform, that there is a growing support for police reform. It's unmistakable. Now, part of what policing can do is go through some self-reflection and figure out how to harmonize with the moment, how to leverage this as an opportunity. Because in every crisis, it's a moment for transformation. There are opportunities of open-mindedness and vulnerability that emerge that can be leveraged for change. And so in this particular context, I believe that, you know, in the movie from the 1980s, Baghdad Cafe, the title song says, "I'm calling you, can you hear me?" Right? And I think this is the real question for policing. Despite the hurtful and disappointing critiques that come out about policing, can they hear in the same moment that it really is a cry for help? And it's a cry for every institution to reinvent itself and to contribute to a restoration of confidence, a restoration of hope. And in that invitation, how are the police departments across this country going to respond to the moment? How are they going to, in some ways, answer the call and rise and shine to the possibilities of transformation? And part of that requires confronting their own suspicions about some of these calls and about some of the broad range of the call, because there's a vast variety of proposals being put out there, some that are a little, I would say, more palpable, more sort of agreeable, some that are seem a lot more radical. But to not move away from the critique itself, but to figure out how they can join in and co-lead these reforms and co-lead a vision of what democratic policing should be for American communities. And at the heart of this effort to try to figure out how to align policing with reform, I think there's the reflection should bring about a bridging of the gap between self and service. It should be a reflection on vocation. And, you know, one philosopher defines vocation as the place where your deep gladness meets the world's needs. So we both have to reinvigorate police officers across the country and align that and illuminate how that meets the world's needs. Because I do believe that there is a need for police. There is a need for this culture, and there's a need for police leadership. But, and I think that's what Blue Courage is, this process through which the journey happens. And it's a reflection tool that helps you to imagine this. Because in the end, love and hope are going to be the antidotes to this fear. So as we engage around the waning public trust, we have to lean in to our trust, to trust ourselves that we have the ability and the capacity to turn the situation around. Because finally, I believe that, as June Jordan said, we are the ones we have been waiting for. This is the moment is now, and the challenge is looming, but we have what it takes to meet the challenge and move things forward.